What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nintendo Land, and we have just received the Kirby and the Forgotten Land demo on the Nintendo Switch, and of course we had to dive in and dissect and see everything that there was to talk about this demo, and really the first couple of levels we get in the game. We get 2 levels and a boss battle, and we're going to talk about all the details, because trust me, there are details in the cutscenes, there are details in the beginning of the game, at the end of the demo, there's even details and hints and secrets within the sub-menus, and there's just so much to go over here. I'm learning new things even as I'm watching this over again. So we're gonna have almost about 40 different unique facts about Kirby and the Forgotten Land demo and things that you probably missed playing through and some small details that are very interesting. But first I want to thank the channel members. Thank you guys so much for becoming members of Nin10doland. It's very simple and it's extremely cheap. All you have to do is click the join button beside the subscribe button, and let's try to get 10 members as quick as possible. Let's try the next couple of months. Let's get 10 members. Let's see how fast we can do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all things Kirby, and let's get on to the list of details. There is a difficulty mode for those that want it to be easier or harder. The harder mode makes bosses a little bit more difficult to defeat and also giving Kirby less health. I know this pretty much goes without saying, but look how detailed this opening cutscene is, and really all the cutscenes in this game are extremely detailed. From the grass to every single little blade that you can see blowing in the wind, even the wood carvings on the trees, and not to mention the super hyper realistic water from the waterfalls. A small detail that's actually extremely important is if you look really closely, you can see that same orange and yellow butterfly that we've seen in all the past Kirby games in the intros, and of course we just recently seen it in Kirby Star Allies, which turned out to be a form of some entity that was able to transform Galactonite into Morphonite. Maybe the return? Kirby flies through a star-shaped rift, and it's actually a dimensional rift that we've seen in some past games, coming from Kirby Return to Dreamland. And you can even see part of the rift outline in the background, very similar to the battle against Magolor in the lore Star Cutter. It's confirmed that in this scene, Kirby's actually mutating, which allows him to have the new ability to do the mouthful mode, and you can actually see the little spike ball viruses floating throughout the rift as well. Now we move on to the gameplay. Kirby can do taunts. Yes, on the D-pad, each direction has a different taunt. You can make Kirby wave, look around, and even sit down on the sand. Look at that. Kirby has the ability to spot dodge in this game, and he can even do it in the water, which will make him actually move a little bit faster than him regularly swimming. When coming out of the water, you can actually see the water dripping off Kirby, and he can leave wet footprints in the sand after he steps in the water. For those of you worried about breaking the game with Kirby because of his float ability, he can only float a certain limit, and then eventually he will start falling down. There's a height limit as well, which means you can't overpower with Kirby and reach places you're not supposed to get to. Just like in the past 2D Kirby games, once you reach a certain height and drop onto the ground, Kirby will actually bounce off the ground and continue to run, and I always like this animation. It just feels really smooth and right. If you stop and listen to the sounds in the foggy forest area right where the tutorial begins, you can actually hear birds whistling the theme to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Once getting the bombs ability, you can actually bring it all the way back to the beach area, and you can see that the bombs have little floaties as well when you throw them in the water. Now, since this is the first real 3D Kirby game, you might be wondering, how do you capture things or even swallow them this time around? You can't push down because that would just make Kirby run backwards, right? Well, this time you can actually choose in the settings if you want it to be an auto swallow, or you can push R or L in order to have Kirby swallow. Personally, I like the button press. It just makes it feel more like classic Kirby, so that's what I set mine to. This bridge that Kirby walks over in order to get to the car mechanic shop is actually a billboard showing the tropical paradise that this place once was. Someone online was able to decipher what the letters mean in Kirby and the Forgotten Land and how they translate to our English, and so we're able to read lots of the signs now and see what they say. It's very hard to make out the little tiny text at the top left. It says something like come, maybe stay, some type of like vacation type of thing, but the middle font says alive travel, and for some reason with 2 E's. I guess that's rough translation for you. And if we see the store sign, it reads Haleen Auto Custom. Now we'll learn a lot more about Haleen by the end of this video. I got more information on them, but it seems like the words are kind of switched with this language. Instead of custom auto, it's auto custom, and instead of travel alive, it reads alive travel. Now the billboard on top of the store reads new face, I guess talking about a new model of car, and I'm not even going to read the little text underneath it. I just don't feel like it. There's also a sign inside the car store that says something new, probably just showing off the car. It's a new model. It's kind of difficult to make out the first word because of all the rust on the sign. This one I think is just more funny than anything else. When Kirby is in mouthful mode, in order to get rid of it, it just says spit. When Kirby is in mouthful mode, sometimes he gets different taunts, and for the car Kirby, he does this little dance. We then see Elfilin get captured along with Waddle Dees, but Elfilin is the only one captured in a giant gold cage with the picture of that lion on it. Now the rest are just little silver cages with the lion, and sometimes the gold ones do have 3 Waddle Dees in them. But it seems like these cages are saved for important creatures, and maybe Elfilin is very, very important to this main antagonist. In fact, it does remind me a lot of that classic story, The Lion and the Mouse. When you do the wave taunt or the excited taunt to Elfilin, she actually gets happy and dances back towards Kirby. Every level has a set of missions for you to complete throughout the level for more replay value, and one of those, for instance, is getting 5 tulips to open throughout the stage. As Vending Mouth Kirby, it is possible to run out of cans. Now once they hit the ground and bounce off of certain objects, you can pick them back up to refill, but once you run out, that's it. Also note that there's different flavors of soda like orange, lemon, grape, cherry, and even green apple. We finally get a better view of a background sign with rust in different spots that actually reads burgers, and you can see a picture of a burger now. We see some posters, and the first one reads Holleen Corp. Now, I don't know if it's Holleen or Holline still. I'm just going to call it Holleen for now. But once again, this is that big corporation that seems like they own everything. And then the other 2 posters seem to reference the amusement park world coming up in the future. There seems to be 2 or 3 of these collectible capsules in each level, and they allow you to have a figurine of some character or object, or maybe even some part of the world to give you more lore, which we'll find out here in a bit. As Kirby's flying through the city on a warp star, you can notice a small sign on the left side of this building, and it states books. We don't have to really pull up anything to guess what that says. You can read it yourselves, and you can even see the little pictures of books, so it's probably like an old library. Now unfortunately, Vending Mouth Kirby didn't have a taunt, but Cone Kirby does, as he spins around on his head like he's doing some type of dance move on the ground. We see an upside down storage unit with once again the words Holleen Corporation on the side. Gigant Edge returns from the Kirby franchise as a mini boss, but this time he has a wild takeover all over his body, and now he is Wild Edge. Just like in the 2D games, you could stun mini bosses and regular bosses, but you had to find out what random pattern did it. This time there's always something that you can do. For instance, throwing bombs behind it and knocking it out from the back will stun him for a while. We get a look at a new Kirby mouthful mode where Kirby just kind of sucks on this dome thing, and you get to rip it off, but once the lid is on the ground, Kirby actually stays on the lid until you manually take him off, which means you can roll around and even put Kirby through some painful situations by holding him in one direction. Every now and then through your journey you will find some places that are glowing. If you jump on them or interact with them, more coins will pop up around the area. Now it's extremely hard to see, and I actually had to take different frames to piece it piece by piece because there's missing letters and finally find out what it meant. But this building in the back is actually a pharmacy. You can see lots of cardboard boxes through the glass windows in the inside of the building, which might hold some type of pharmaceutical drug or something, or some type of pills or something for people that used to live here. We now get to find out a little bit more about this Holleen company from this minifigure. This is the car shop sign that we saw earlier. It says, this logo belonged to an auto shop named Holleen Custom Autos, part of Holleen Corp. Holleen also sold industrial parts, managed construction, and made all kinds of stuff, from buildings to streets to amusement park rides. Remember, if it's quality, it's Holleen, or perhaps it would be more accurate. So Holleen was the main corporation that really made everything in this world, and it's making me wonder, maybe we'll learn more about it and maybe find some lost civilization that was still somehow alive, and maybe we can meet somebody still that still lives here. Or maybe even perhaps that Holleen was the reason this whole world went into destruction in the first place, because maybe they got too greedy and made some type of giant machine that ended up blowing up the world or something. Now we move on to the mall. We can see 2 banners hanging from the ceiling, and we can't really make out what the word on the top says, but the bottom word in the big bold says sale, so some type of last minute sale was probably going on. Then we have a couple of concession stands. The one on the left was a little rough translation that said something like Alive Parlor, so maybe some type of ice cream parlor, and maybe this place has something to do with Alive City. Maybe this place is called Alive City or something. And one on the right is also the same, called Alive Parlor. If you look closely, you can see the shadow of Gorimondo climb above Kirby, as if he's climbing through the ceiling. You can feel the ground rumble a little bit as well. There's a giant stash of bananas back behind this wall, as if Gormando was hoarding them all this time, kind of like Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong's banana hoard, and you're pretty much full life at this point, so there's really no need, but just a small little Easter egg that they put there. There's a couple of signs that you'll find around the mall that has a picture of Kirby with purple goo crossing them out. It doesn't look like the Beast Gang is a big fan of this Kirby guy. There's some signs on the side of this wall here showing some desserts like ice cream and even some food that you can get, and it says something about a combo. I couldn't read everything. It's probably a way to move the camera a specific way to read it, and maybe I will eventually, but yeah, it just says something about a food combo. And the ice cream picture actually has numbers below it for the prices. With bosses, it seems like some bosses might be weak to certain elements or certain abilities, kind of like Mega Man, where it seems like Gormando will freeze completely over, and it takes out a huge chunk of his life when Kirby does this. This also looked very evident when Kirby was fighting Tropic Woods in the picture, where it looks like he was burning him, and fire was the main weakness of Tropic Woods. Also know as Kirby is hitting him with an attack, his eyes are popping and wobbling around. In this shot, we can actually see the name of the mall, and once again, it's called Alive Mall. Well, actually, it says Alival. I have found out that finally, that's not a second E, that's another L. Alival is the name of this place, I guess, or maybe the city, Alival City, and this is Alival Mall. Once a boss's HP is halfway, they get a brand new attack and get more difficult, just like all Kirby bosses in the past. But Gormando's a new attack, where he spins around the arena very similar to Donkey Kong's Up B in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I don't know if this was a call to reference, but I thought I'd bring it up. Now let's talk about some of the abilities, because we get special ones after beating the main demo. The Gigant Sword Kirby actually allows Kirby to have a shield this time around when he blocks. Chain Bomb gives Kirby the ability to chain different bomb attacks together in order to set up some pretty cool detonations if you place them in the right places. With the Frosty Ice ability, you can actually make snowmen appear, well, snow walruses, and you can throw them at enemies in order to hurt them. Something else that's very interesting about this ability is that when frozen, Kirby can actually move out of the way at the last second by unfreezing himself and moving in order to do a slow-mo dodge. Now, Kirby's Shock Realm cutter isn't anything crazy, he just throws tons of cutters and Shock Realms all over the stage, a lot more than normal, but did you know that you can actually dodge at the last second in order to do a cool little slow-mo ability where Kirby can attack right out of it? And last but not least, many people may not know this, but if you were thinking about getting the demo and not sure and playing it, well, if you complete the demo, you actually get 2 present codes. You can get extra items when the actual game releases. If you enter both codes at the Waddle Deliveries, which will open up as you progress through the story, you get 2 type of mementos, something I don't know what they're going to be right now. Now, I believe everybody gets the same code, so you could probably just use these that you see right now, unless somehow it can detect if you play the demo or not, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But I'd just go ahead and try these if you don't want to try the demo out yet and want these cool presents. But that was 50 details of Kirby and the Forgotten Lands demo. There was so much to go over and probably even still more that I missed. So if you've seen anything or figured out anything during your playthrough, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe you could appear in a second video where there's a lot more information that you guys have found as the viewers. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video. It helps out a lot. This was a lot of information to go over, so you guys' subscription will definitely go a long way, and I can't wait to cover this game fully when it comes out. But thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.